Recording going. There we go. So welcome to your yoga class this evening. If you're joining live, just going to set my record over here. So if you are joining live, then well done for making it to your mat on this Monday evening. Bit wet and miserable outside, so well done for making the time to come to your mat and hopefully feeling all the better for it in half an hour. And if you're catching up, then it's lovely to have you on the mat, making the time when you can. So coming down to the floor this evening, I think the only props we're going to make use of is just really a cushion or a blanket. So we're going to be focusing on the glutes tonight, and actually for the next 4 weeks we're going to work on the glutes. Such an important area to focus on as runners, so I will take you through some of those reasons in a moment. So for now, coming down to the floor, taking a blanket or a cushion, if you have that to hand, popping it under your head, make it a little bit more comfy, particularly if you are on a hard floor like me. So laying all the way down, taking your time to come down to the mat, into your space, whatever space you've made for yourself at home. However big, however small, as long as you've got enough space to lay down, that's all you need to do yoga. So coming to settle, maybe lowering the gaze, close the eyes if that feels good, making yourself feel heavy on the floor. And just drawing your attention to your breath, taking on nasal breaths, breathing in through your nose and out through your nose if you can today. And start to notice your breath, just watch. A steady breath in, steady breath out. And feeling your belly rise and fall as you take the breath deep in, shifting to this diaphragmatic breathing. So we want to shift our breath from breathing into the chest, with the chest going up and down into the belly. You might find this easier by placing your hands onto your belly or sometimes the rib cage, because we want to create this sort of 3D diaphragmatic breath where our rib cage, our belly is rising and then falling on the exhale. And if you feel that you're breathing more into the chest, it can be a nice prompt, sort of a physical prompt to have the hands on the belly or the rib cage. On your next inhale, draw your knees in. And then let your knees come out to the side. We're coming to a reclined butterfly for a few more breaths. And check in with how knees feel, how hips feel today, as the soles of the feet draw together. If you want more of a deeper stretch, again, this is passive. We're not pressing, we're not pushing. But you may want to draw the heels in closer towards the groin. And if you feel that that's a little bit sticky, a little bit uncomfortable, then wiggle your feet further away. You're creating more of a diamond shape there. And that will also lessen the extension into your low back with the feet further away. So just as you focus here on your breath and take these few moments at the start of your practice, I'd like to ask you to bring to your mind just something that you would like to focus on in this week ahead. December can notoriously be a very busy month, often very fun and exciting, but also overwhelming at times, quite tiring, quite a lot for our nervous system. So take it week by week and bring something to mind that you would like to focus on for yourself this week, just the next 7 days that you can prioritize for you. And on your next inhale, bring your knees together. Little squeeze in if you'd like. See how it feels in the hips. You might want to tuck your knees in towards your chest, give them a squeeze. We're going to rock through to come to a tabletop. So if you'd like to follow me, we're going to rock and roll forwards. Or if you prefer, you can go onto one side and make your way around in whatever way you'd like. But otherwise, we can take palms to the floor, engage your core to lift your legs up. Little bit of momentum, bring yourself through to an easy seat, and then we can carry on rolling forward to find a tabletop. And keep your blanket or cushion to hand. If you do have a blanket or cushion, and we're going to use it for a squat later on in the sequence, so keep it nearby. So coming to tabletop, just moving through a few rounds of cat-cow to get into the spine. So palms pressing deeply into the floor, wrists beneath your shoulders, knees beneath your hips. Inhale, drop the belly. The belly comes close towards the mat. Tilt the tailbone, the pelvis lifting up towards the ceiling. Lift the chest, lift the gaze. Exhale, round down, tuck chin to chest. Curling your tailbone underneath, pressing through your hands like an angry cat. Upper back pushing to the ceiling. Inhale, drop the belly, lift up, look up. And start to move with the pace of your breath. You're just going to do one more after this round. So exhaling to round down. Inhale, drop the belly to lift up and look up. And then once you've completed those rounds, coming through to a neutral spine. As we work into the glutes, we're going to fire up into the right side first. Stay in your tabletop position. If for balance you want a little bit of support, we're going to lift the right leg in a moment. And if you feel a bit wobbly, bring your left knee more central. So just shift it maybe a couple of inches to your right. Inhale, lift your right leg. Right toes pointing up towards the ceiling. So you're firing up into your glute. The glutes are the powerhouse of our legs. They are what propel your legs forward. So we really want strong glutes. Lift your toes up, squeeze into your glutes higher, flex your foot and point your foot. Flex your foot and point. Hold it here for 3, 2, a little higher. Squeeze it up as high as you can. And 1. Let the right knee reconnect to the floor. Let's take it to the left side. When you're ready, inhale, lift up your left leg. So we've got a nice bend in the left knee, got a right angle here with the foot pointing up towards the ceiling, and take some flexes and points here through the ankle, the foot just getting into the ankle joint. And then hold it here, keep it lifted. Squeeze it as high as you can. Lift the leg up super high for 3, 2, and 1. Lovely work. Left knee reconnects to the floor. Take your hands a pace forward, slightly wider than shoulders. Curl up onto your toes. Hover the knees here on the inhale. Exhale, shoot your hips up high. We're coming to downward facing dog. So move your left heel up, move your right heel up. Let the opposite heel feel heavy. And just shift your weight from left to right. Create some movement into your hips if that feels good. Loosening here into the body, but just go to what feels good for you today. And at a different time on your mat, you might not want so much movement. So just check in. What do you need here in your first downward facing dog? And now if you were moving, come to stillness. Let your heels feel heavy. Maybe they drop to the floor, maybe they don't. Your gaze is back between your legs. Press down firmly through right hand, left hand, keeping a bend in the knees if you need to. Look towards your hands. You're going to step through your right foot. And we're not dropping the left knee. So you can take your right foot through, either sweep it through or maybe come to a tabletop and then lift the right knee. Straightening through your left. Press your left foot back and down, turning in around 45 degrees. Maybe, so we're in a diagonal here with the left foot. Inhale, lift yourself up. We're coming to warrior 1. So this is a deep bend in your right knee. And in warrior 1, hips are more diagonal towards the top left-hand corner of your mat. So in warrior 2, we're more open to the side. Warrior 1, inhale, lift the arms and the chest and your shoulders are facing forwards. Deep breath here. We're staying here for 2 more. Arms reaching up towards the ceiling if you can. Press down firmly through the outer edge of your back foot, firing up, activating into the muscles on the right side of your leg. Exhale, drop your left arm back. So now coming through to warrior 2. Left arm extends behind you, right arm forward. Same footprint, but now the hips are open. We're pivoting through the midline. So hips are more open to the left side of your mat. Lifting the left arm if it's dropped, gazing forward over your right fingertips, really squeezing into your glute muscles. So squeezing through the bum, the legs, both sides. Super strong warrior 2. Nice work. Now bring your hands to your hips. Going to step your left foot to meet your right at the front of the mat. Facing forwards here, bend your knees, drop your hips back as though you're sitting in a tiny chair behind you, sweeping through to chair pose. Lift the arms, your feet, your legs are together, gaze up, arms reaching up. Exhale, release, stand up tall. Heel toe your feet apart. So now your feet as though they're on a train track. They're number 11. The feet are parallel, stacked beneath your hips. Drop your arms in line with your shoulders. Finding awkward 1 here. Body weight is back, so weight back in the heels. You should be able to wiggle your toes. Bend your knees, sink your hips down low. So in awkward poses, there are 3 of these. We're just doing awkward 1 here. Keep the chest lifted. We're working into ankle mobility, strengthening into the thighs, the hips, and the glutes. Sink down a little lower if you can. 1 more breath. And change, release. Take your hands to your hips. Or give your arms a little shake out if you need to. Now heel toe your feet further apart. I'm going to turn to face you, but you stay facing the front of your mat. We're now taking a wide position and we're going to flow through 2 rounds of goddess pose. So heels are in, toes are out. Feet are nice and wide, wider than your hips. Inhale, raise your arms overhead, press palms. Exhale, draw your arms down so they're in this cactus shape, bending at the elbows, fingertips pointing towards the ceiling. Bend your knees, sink down low, and you're coming to a low squat here for goddess pose, well, as low as you can go. So we're working the hips down so they're almost in line with the knees, not quite, we're not quite going to get there, but as low as you can get here. And think about tilting your pelvis, lengthen through the tailbone, tilt your pelvis under. If you squeeze into your glutes, like to think about your knees and try and press your knees out. Weights back in the heels, knees out wide. Change, release. Straighten through your legs, press palms overhead once more. We're going to do that 1 more time. Big inhale at the top, exhale as you come down. Keep breathing. This is a strong pose for hips and glutes. So we're holding it here, tuck that the pelvis so your tailbone is nice and long, and drive, really press into your knees. So you're pressing your knees out, squeeze your glutes, holding it here for 3, 2, and 1. Nice work. Exhale, release. Palms pressed, step your feet together, mountain pose, top of your mat. Inhale, raise the arms overhead, palms press. Lengthen and look towards your thumbs. Exhale, release, hinge forward, forward fold. Both knees are bent, belly is laid onto your thighs, hands down on the floor. Inhale, halfway lift. Place your hands onto your shins, lift up with a flat back. You find this upside down L shape, gazing slightly forward. Straighten through your knees, your version of straight today. Stretch through the hamstrings. Exhale, forward fold. Press your hands onto the back of your calves. Again, belly onto thighs, knees bent, but now straightening through the legs if that feels good for you. Head is low. Press firmly onto your legs. Drop your head towards your knees, hips high. Exhale, release. Take your hands down to the floor. And now you're stepping back to plank pose. So you could be in a tabletop position, all fours. You could be in a knee plank where your body weight is forward through your shoulders and you're shifted slightly forward, knees are back. Or curl up onto your toes, lifting through to a full plank pose. Wherever you are, breathe into your core, your abdominal muscles. Keep your hips lifted, but not higher than your chest. Holding it for 3, 2, and 1. Either lowering down with knees first and then lower through your arms, or in one solid piece all the way to the floor. Inhale, lift up, lift the chest, lift the gaze, baby cobra pose. You gaze forward, again, squeeze into your bum muscles here. So glute muscles super strong to strengthen into the back. Press your feet into the floor. Exhale, release. Inhale, curl onto your toes, press through your hands, up and back to downward facing dog. So coming to a still down dog, press firmly through your hands, heels are heavy. Steady the breath, come back to the breath, nice and slow. Inhale and exhale. Look towards your hands, take your left foot forward this time. Finding warrior 1 on the left side. So taking your left leg through, however that works for you, and you're pressing your right foot back and down. Inhale, sweep the arms up, warrior 1. Deep bend in your left leg. The right foot is directly behind and turned in. Hips towards the right top corner of your mat. Arms up high, 1 more breath here. On your next exhale, drop your right arm back, left arm forward, warrior two. Hips now more open to the long edge of your mat on the right. Lift your right arm. Strong and straight, left arm forward, right arm back. Try and think about tucking this left hip under, squeeze into your glutes on the left side. Hands to your hips. Put the weight through your left foot, going to rock through. Hands on your hips to stand at the top of your mat. Bend your knees, sink your hips. We're finding chair pose. Second round of chair pose here. Arms up high, sink the hips low, and you're trying to sit on that tiny chair behind you. Keep the arms lifted, gazing slightly up. See if you can bend the knees, sink the hips down lower. Weight is back in your heels. Exhale, release. Drop the arms back in line with shoulders. Step the feet apart. So we're coming to this awkward posture for a second time. So this time, feet directly beneath your hips. That's around a 2-fist gap between both feet. Inhale, arms out in line with shoulders, fingertips together, gazing forward, find focus. This time we're going to work through awkward two. So good here for ankle stability and building ankle strength. Lift up onto tiptoes here. So lift up your heels as high as you can. Find a point of focus, of balance. We're going to do 2 rounds of this. Holding it here for 3. Heels up high, shins flicking forward for 2. And 1. Gently let your heels reconnect to the floor. Try and keep your arms out for this second round. When you're ready, inhale, lift. Lift the heels up high. And now if you'd like to play more with balance, you can bend the knees, keep the knees tracking forward over your toes, and start to lower the hips down low. So we've got the hips coming in line with the knees. See if you can get towards parallel, gaze a point in front of you. And gently come back out. Good, focus, lovely work. Drop the heels to the floor. Now again, you stay facing the same direction. I'm going to turn to face you for goddess pose. Heel toe, your feet out wide again. Same position we had before. Nice and wide because you want to be able to squat low and really get into the hips and the glutes. Inhale, raise the arms overhead, press palms. Draw your arms out into this cactus shape. So you'll instantly feel as you open through the chest and the shoulders. Imagine you're trying to touch a wall behind you with your fingertips. You'll feel this stretch through the chest. Then when you're ready, inhale, bend the knees and sink low, finding goddess pose. We're going to stay here for 2 breaths. Tilt the pelvis under. Remember to drive and really press those knees out. Squeeze into your glutes. Make sure you have enough space to get deeply into this squat. 1 more breath. In through the nose. Sink a little lower. And out. Lovely work. Exhale, press palms. We're going to do 1 more round. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, squat low. Pressing the hands behind you, sinking the hips down. Press into your feet, squeeze your glutes, tilt your tailbone under, find a point of focus on your here for 3, 2, and 1. Release. Press palms, step your feet together. And now we're nice and warm into the hips and the glutes. Just going to have a little play with a deeper squat if you would like to. So if you have something at home, a cushion or a blanket that you can fold in half and create something that's got a bit of depth to it to put under your heels, that can be helpful. You can try it without and then see how you get on. So we're going to come to a lower squat. You might have seen this before. It's called a yogi squat, garland pose, malasana. It's got a couple of different names. So you're going to start with your feet not as wide as goddess pose, slightly further in. So feet more or less under your hips, toes turn slightly out. Inhale, raise your arms, palms press. You're going to take them down to your hips. And you can actually have your arms in whatever way feels good for you as we lower down. Bend the knees. Make sure your feet are turned out nice and wide. You're going to lower down. And it might be that you can come to pressing your elbows into your knees and you stay here, sort of a halfway version. And this is a nice stretch for the hip flexors. You might feel it a bit pinchy in the front of your hips. Try and keep the gaze up And you might need to come a bit higher like this. This is totally fine. If you can get to pressing your elbows in your knees, then that will really enhance the stretch. And if you have something to pop under your heels, we may be limited by ankle mobility in this pose. So with some lift under the heels, you'll find you can get a lot lower, supporting your feet. And for some of us, it may never be possible to get all the way down to the floor with flat heels just because of the way our bodies are made up. Everyone's different. So whatever version works for you, you're here for 2 more breaths. This is nice and strong, but also a deep stretch. So coming back to the steady breath. Exhale and release. So gently easing off through the knees. If you are pressing, you can take your hands to the floor, lift the hips, push through your feet, come all the way back up to standing. Lovely work, really well done. Now popping blankets, cushions just to one side. We're going to have a little balance in tree pose. So we're opening up into the hips, the glutes. Glutes are so important for getting this hip movement. So we're not going to be able to run and move our legs without our glutes or the hips being nice and mobile. Hands onto your hips to start with. Firm up through your left leg. Bend your right knee, take it out to the right side. So options here. I'm actually going to pull my mat forward because it's super thick, which makes it a little tricky for balancing. If you've also got quite a deep mat, you might find that coming onto a flat floor is going to help you. So hands onto your hips, and you start here with the foot onto the floor. You can stay here the whole time. I'd like you to think about engaging your glutes. So you have 3 glute muscles, and we want to engage them on each side as we draw the knee out. That's what's working into the hip and getting the hip to move. So you can stay here with the knee drawing out to the right as far as you can get it to go. Hips though, stay forward to the front of your room. Option to raise your right foot. You might want to come here. The foot's on the calf. Or you're staying below the knee or above the knee, but don't press into the knee joint. It's a stabilizing joint. So you may want to work with the sole of your foot into your inner thigh. So find focus, something to focus on to help your balance ahead of you. Really working into the glute on both sides. So the job on the right side is that the glute is having this important job of helping the hip externally rotate, strengthening, moving into the knee as well through the IT band. And we also have the left glute stabilizing and keeping your left leg so it's moving nowhere. For 2 final breaths here, maybe bringing hands to heart space, pressing center of chest. Maybe raising them overhead if that feels good, stretching out through the hands, flip the palms. And release, come out the way you came in. Drop the hands by your side, let the right leg fall down, lovely. Now switching out to the other side, firm up through your right standing leg. Left knee bends, comes out to the left side of your room. Lift up the left heel. So it starts resting on that ankle. And if you're thinking about the glute muscles, the hip, the knee, as we've just gone through, even if you don't lift your leg, you're going to get work into this. So see how balance feels today. Maybe lifting the left foot to the calf. Maybe all the way up to the inner thigh. And we can work into some deep variations of this in time. Lifting the leg into lotus pose, maybe coming to toe stand. There's always somewhere to go. Staying here for 2 more breaths. Hands come to center of chest. Maybe they stay here, or we extend, interlace the fingers, flip the palms, reach up, press through your right foot as you lift the arms high. And release. Brilliant. Good balancing. Nice work. So now let's come down to the floor. We are going to take a scorpion stretch. So coming all the way onto your belly, chest down, front of the legs, belly connected to the floor. Take your left hand underneath your left shoulder. And actually, we'll do the other side first. Left arm long, right hand beneath your right shoulder. Your left leg stays long. You're going to open through your right leg. So your right knee bends and peels open. So we're stretching into the hip. Your right toes come over to the left side. Left arm is out in line with your left shoulder. Staying here for, let's do 2 more on this side. So we're steadying the breath, slowing things down as we come to the end of your practice. Release, gently bring the right leg back through. And now your right arm is long, out in line with shoulder, left hand beneath your left shoulder, and we peel the leg on the other side. So you're opening through the hip, right leg's long, and we're stretching through the hip and the glute on the left. Two more breaths. And change. On your next exhale, release. Bring your left foot back down and now roll all the way onto your back. So you're flipping yourself over here and we're going to lower all the way down to the floor. So nice and heavy on the floor. In yoga, we use the floor almost like a wall. It's our resistance, it's our grounding, it's our opportunity to find support and push against it when we need to. And when we're coming to these closing postures, whether we're laying on our front in a prone position or on our back in a supine position, we can use the floor to our advantage. On your next inhale, bend your left leg. Cross your right foot over your left leg. We're coming to a reclined figure 4 pose. So you can stay here, see how the body feels, hips, knees, glutes. You might want to press your right hand gently into your right knee. Flex through your right foot. And if you'd like a deeper stretch and to shift this into the outside, so this is really going to get into the glutes and outer hip, take your arms, thread them either side of your left leg, interlace the fingers behind your thigh and lift your left foot off the floor. Keep both feet flexed. It supports the knees here. So you've got 90-degree angle with your left foot. It's in line with your knee and you're in control here. So the deeper you pull on the left side, the deeper you'll feel the stretch in the outer leg, hips, glutes on the right. Keep your head down, your neck down. Try and be relaxed through your jaw, your face, your shoulders. 2 more breaths on this side. On your next exhale, release your left foot gently to the floor, switch it out. So this time bending the right knee, left leg crosses over. Finding this figure 4 position. Flexing through your left foot, your right foot, and choosing whether to stay down and work into the knee, maybe the front of the hip, into this external rotation, or for the deep stretch into the glutes, you're going to bring your right foot lifted in line with your knee, hands interlace behind your right leg, and you'll instantly switch that stretch on. So by working into the glutes, we're strengthening and supporting the knees. So the glutes are connected to the knees through the IT band. It runs down the outside of your leg. And often if we've got weakness in the knees or the knees turn in, so for example, in goddess pose when we were there, if you found that, it's because we need to strengthen into the glutes. It also supports nice and stable hips and pelvis and gives us more power, more sprinting power. Release your right foot to the floor, uncross your left leg. And now we come to the closing portion of class, so Shavasana, finding a position that works for you here. Get yourself nice and comfy, finding a blanket, cushion if you need, and we're going to take a few final moments together at the close of practice. And as always, the beauty of you doing this at home is that you can stay here for as long as you need or as long as anyone else in your house will let you. And you'll find in a neutral position, let your legs feel heavy, your feet just splay out to the corners of your mat and your arms relax by your side. If you feel a pull in your low back, maybe bend the knees, let the knees knock together, feet are wide as your mat. You knock the knees in, and this is constructed rest. So finding an option that works, that feels good, that allows you to relax. It's allowing the body to switch off. Close your eyes or drop your gaze. Come back to watching your breath, feeling the rise and fall. As you inhale, your belly lifts, and as you exhale, it drops. And come back to whatever you brought into focus at the start of your practice for the next week. As you head further into December, with all that might mean for you, if you have races, if you don't, if you've got festive plans in the diary, or if you haven't, just whatever this means for you in work, in training, and at home. Seeing how you can focus and prioritize you and what you need as you move through a busy month. We've got 2 more breaths here. And now bringing some awareness and gentle movement into fingers and toes. Maybe some circles left and right. And when you're ready in your own time, bend your knees, bring yourself onto one side, push yourself through to an easy seat. And you can keep the gaze low here. Find just a position that feels good to end your practice. Traditionally, we come to a cross-legged. It might be better to be kneeling or with legs out in front. You take your pick. Inhale, raise your arms for one last time in tonight's practice. Palms touch above your head and you drop your hands to your chest. And if you wish to, you can bow your head in thanks to yourself for making the time for your practice today, for making the time in your week. It was my pleasure to teach you. Namaste. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks, Georgie.